Good morning, buenos dias, everyone. Here is Ilical, and I'm making another impression or preview it at best, over my experience from Guild Wars 2 over the weekend. I was playing Guild Wars 2 over this beta weekend for such a long time till I felt like I had red eyes, like like Count Dracula. So I literally spent every waking hour in the beta weekend of Guild Wars 2. I was very excited to go into it, apparently, and I scribbled some notes on a paper here. Hopefully I still can decipher what I wrote, and I'm trying to give some impressions. Now let me say this ahead. In my very personal opinion, Guild Wars 2 is or will be probably the best MMORPG for at least several years to come. So I'm quite certain about this. I want to clarify this ahead because, of course, I focus on a lot of issues, negative things, which is, in my very personal opinion, what you do when you better something, because you focus on what is not working yet so much and try to give that as impression, so hopefully the company can work on these things. So overall it may come out a bit negative, but that's not my overall feeling. Overall, I think Guild Wars 2 is, as I said, probably the best MMO for at least a couple of years. And it's a definite buy for me. So, I played 3 classes to level 10. That was Guardian, Elementalist and Thief. I also played for a short time Mesmer and Ranger. I played mostly in the human and the Norn area. I played Char just 2 levels just to see the starting area, because it's just my personal opinion, but Char, after playing Guild Wars 1, I just couldn't bring myself, or I could not bring myself to play Char, because, I don't know, they're the enemy. They took away the lands, they built those ugly metal things looking like a rusted version of the Death Star. And each to his, if you like this, fine for you, but Char is a bit a race for me, like orcs or trolls, and I never could play orc or troll in World of Warcraft because, sorry, orcs and trolls are mobs. They are prey. I don't play such races, but that's just my personal quirk, don't let this deter you. I had started with an Elementalist in this mini beta, which was, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I of course had the Elementalist still to play him a bit more. The impressions of the classes and the 2 starting areas which I thoroughly tested, was Norn and Human, was very enjoyable. I said in the first impression that I really loved the world detail, all the things that you could see, many pointless things which you could examine. I don't go too much into this detail anymore because I said that in the last impression already. I really love the world, just walking in it, seeing all the detail, overhearing those often hilariously funny conversations of NPCs. It really, all those cities, the starting areas and those later on which I visited, like Lion's Arch and so forth, the places really are gorgeous to look at, wonderful to examine, all the detail. It's really great to be in that world. Now the point is about the classes. I start with Guardian. I played a Norn Guardian. One thing about the Norn is, it's just a personal thing, I couldn't play a male Norn because, you see, it's a kind of first time for me, because I created a female character, which I usually never do. But the Norn, I don't know, the males just look you need see those necks, those muscles. It's just a tad too much for me. It's just not my kind of character I want to play. So I played a little bit of a Valkyrie and I took her through the very interesting Norn starting area. The Norn area is well, a bit like Norse mythology or the likes. You have the spirits of nature, you have, it's all misty and foggy and a bit with visions, and it's kind of a more serious approach like the human starting areas, which are a bit more cheerful, more bright, more on the funny side sometimes. I think that will greatly depend on what you prefer. Norn is they seem to be very serious, despite their attitude of going to beer drinks and boasting about heroics and the much, but it was fun and it was very interesting to explore. The Guardian is mostly a tanking class, and what I really liked about the Guardian is that it has by far the greatest survivability, of course, and I didn't have to gaze always on my health meter so much, which is something of a negative point of Guild Wars 2. I still feel that the classes lose health too quickly. There are sometimes attacks which just take away, I don't know, 2/3 of your health, and it's just a little bit too dangerous. I'm going back to this in a later point about the difficulty and heroic feeling. The next, the Elementalist, it was my first my first character, which I played in the human area. I really love the human area. I never thought I would play human or consider human as a main race, because I don't know, I am human, so for me it's something I usually find boring to play. But in this case I'm really considering taking humans as a main character, because the stories are just wonderful, they're very interesting. I played human of aristocratic background, which was really fun, and a friend of mine had street rat background, so to speak, and seeing that as I accompanied him was really interesting too. And of course the human starting area around Divinity's Reach is really wonderful, all the quests that are going on, it's just fantastic made. The Elementalist, however, was, God, it was just such a hassle. I don't know, I really thought at first I would play Elementalist, but the longer I played it, the more I was a little bit let down with the class, because first off, I felt like I had about, I don't know, 1,000 difficult skills to learn. You know, in Guild Wars 2 it is that you open up skills gradually. So if you take a staff, a two-hand staff, and choose fire, you get the first shooting ability. You shoot fire on and on and on, and then if you do that often enough, you unlock the next one, and so forth. And that's manageable with the other characters, but with Elementalist I just have the feeling that it took me endless to unlock all these various combinations and try them out, and trying to memorize all these was so difficult in a way, and I don't know, I just felt that for a mage which wields cloth and is very vulnerable and essentially a glass cannon, I see only the glass aspect, I don't see the cannon aspect of glass cannon. That is a critique to Elementalist. I thought a character which is so vulnerable should really have more power, more damage. And it's just my impression that the damage just wasn't really enough for a character that was so vulnerable. It certainly is an interesting class because you have 4 elements, but it also makes probably managing it more difficult. Finally, the Thief. That was really a surprise, a positive surprise. I was trying Thief out more for the fun of it and for the curiosity, but I really found that Thief was climbing from not interested to top of my list. It wasn't so difficult as I had imagined, because many of the skills and attacks move you around automatically, so you don't always manually have to move around. You have this attack which teleports you to behind, you have an attack that teleports you to the character and back, and you have to do a lot of movement, but I took two pistols for PvP and sword and dagger for PvE, and that was a really delightful combination. I'm not sure how it is in higher levels. I play this character of course just to level 10, but that was very interesting. A class which I really disliked the most was Mesmer, for two reasons. First, the attacks felt way too weak. I felt like throwing cotton balls at the enemy, and it took endless to take down an enemy. And those clones, I don't know, they were just coming and going without my control and without my understanding. I mean, maybe if you really dig into the how to do of Mesmer, that's manageable, but I didn't feel like I had any control about things. There were clones coming, they were shooting, then they were suddenly disappearing. I never knew at what point they would come or go, and I just felt that it was chaotic and a hassle. Finally, Ranger, a bit the same issue as with Elementalist. I feel they were underpowered. They didn't do so much damage as I thought a range class would do. The idea to collect pets is something I really find an interesting idea. Something that reminds me of gathering pets from Star Wars Galaxies, which I really love to do. But I had this beer, which, I don't know, it was quite useless, and a friend of mine had earlier used a ranger with this, what's this, cat panther or something, and that didn't work much better. Maybe the pets you can collect later on are better, but when I was doing PvP, all the ranger pets, the other players, were constantly dead. Now the point is they are dead, are still walking, but they're of course not doing anything. They have zero health, and for the funny thing you see an icon of a dead player walking around the map because they're dead, but they still follow their masters. And the pets are, I don't know, they can't tank and they don't do really damage, so I more felt that the pets at the moment are more a waste of time, or a waste anyway. So combat pet classes, what else? The quest system. As you probably have heard or know, that Guild Wars 2 has no quest in the classic sense that you go to a NPC with a question mark over your head, but there are things going on in the area where you walk. It is a relaxing thing, but also, I don't know, it lacks a bit the direction. When you have quests, you usually have an impression of the overall direction an area is going. I mean, you can gather this in your mind doing the things in the area, but I'm 50-50 on this. I miss quests surprisingly a bit, despite the fact that quests always had something of a grind. I'm still over the fence of this. Sometimes I looked at my class quest, my background quest, and I saw, okay, the next is at level 10, now I have to do stuff to get level 10. And I don't know, a little bit quests I'm somehow missing, but as I said, I'm a bit 50-50 about this. Another point is mounts, and just briefly touch this. I know that you have this teleport system in Guild Wars 2. I'm also over the fence of this. I miss mounts because, I don't know, teleporting from point to point is a little bit taking the immersion away. It's like in, what was it, the Elder Scrolls single player games, where you could go to areas which you had been, and of course it's an easy and comfortable way to do, but I always prefer to have a mount to ride to a point. I know it's just a bit more immersive to have a mount to cross areas, unless it's really big distances, but where it really pained me was the PvP. The PvP area is just so unbelievably frigging big. If you die and there is no one to rescue, you teleport all the way back to the starting point of the PvP area, then you walk 10 frigging minutes back to the battle, only to sometimes die 10 seconds later. I'm sorry, without mounts this is just an unbelievable chore. No horse in PvP was, as I said, especially bad. My next point is a question mark which I have in my mind about the soloability of the game. Now, so far in the beta weekend I was essentially all the time with people. There was always things going on, and that is some of the very positive aspects of Guild Wars 2. There is an event, there is something going on, and you just follow people. And the people are unusually friendly as far as I experience. Everyone helps you. If you die and someone is around, everyone rescues you. And the people there really are working together in a sense, but the crowd immediately disperses after the event is over. I mean, that's the nature of things in an MMO. It's not so bad, but I really wish there was a mechanic or a way that people would stay together a bit more. I don't know. However, one of the questions is, what will you do if you play at a time when not so many on, or later on, if the game develops, not so many people will be in the low-level areas? That is, with a game that is so much event-driven, a big question, and I tried to solo my characters, and I found that the classes really at some point are very difficult to solo. At least that's my impression about things. You definitely do not feel like a hero, not feel like a strong heroic character, and some classes I think are almost impossible to solo. If I'm thinking of Mesmer, and even other classes, if you solo, you can solo. Guardian, for instance, was decently soloable, but already with Elementalists I felt it was strenuous, and that is something where I feel, I don't know, sometimes you just want to do stuff alone. Not everyone wants to be in a Zerg or in a massive group or in a big event all the time, and as I said later on, I expect that some areas will be well, not maybe deserted, but not having so many players at times, and a game needs solo ability, period. And I think some classes really will have a hard time about this. So, finally, one of the most difficult areas I think is PvP. I went a long time in this World vs. World, the PvP system. I think the general idea of having 3 servers against each other is really a grand idea, because the 3 faction PvP is probably the best idea. It's a clear thing. The PvP region is really wonderful. It's large, it's great designed, with interesting choke points and areas of interest to defend or to attack. I really thought the design of the map was good. I love the castle sieges, which is something I really had missed since I stopped playing Warhammer. One of the issues is I didn't see any reward for doing it. And on the contrary, I felt it was more an investment. You see, I died pretty frequently, and one of the 2 things which really bugged me about this was not the dying itself, but first the point that I had to walk all over this giant map to get back, and I think that's just wrong. I'm sorry, if I take as example the war zones from Star Wars: The Old Republic, which is the most recent PvP experience I have to compare. If you die, you get taken out of the battlefield for, I don't know, 10 seconds or what, and then you get back right into the battle. That is what I want in PvP, not the war zone element, but the getting back into battle quickly. And if you die in Guild Wars 2, often you are streamrolled by a Zerg or what, and your body often is in a place where people just can't res you, and they are busy fighting for their lives. 90% of the attempts to res me in the ongoing war was failure. And it's also a bit of critique on this downstate, which I found just superfluous. I'm sorry, 90% or 95% of the times when I die in PvP, the downstate is just waste of time, because I die anyway. And even in the PvE, it's a bit better ratio, but even there it was about, I don't know, 70% or 75% of the time when I'm downed, I usually die. So it's a little bit of waste of time. This downstate doesn't really work, in my personal opinion. Now in back to PvP, the point is, I see the note about the war machines. They're a very cool addition. I really love that you can build battering rams and ballista and whatnot. The point is, I felt they were extraordinarily expensive, so it just adds an element where you invest into the PvP and you get, I don't know, nothing back. You can sometimes loot fallen enemies, which in a big battle is close to impossible. If you have them lying on the ground, you usually around a Zerg around is going on around you, and looting them is, I don't know, almost impossible. And to get those tokens, I don't know what they were called, you don't get money. So when I died frequently, I had a lot of repair codes, but I didn't really get anything back. It was mostly an investment. It was just negative money. And as interesting and cool and fun as PvP can be, I'm sorry, I think people should get something from doing PvP. I mean, I get experience points, okay, granted, but I think people should get money or something out of it. They shouldn't be with a money loss. I remember from Star Wars: The Old Republic and many other MMOs, I think in Lotro it is the same. If you die in a PvP zone killed by a player, you don't have repair costs. And I think that is, in my very personal opinion, how PvP should be. You shouldn't have repair costs from PvP, because it just takes out your risk willingness, your fun. I don't know if you have that issue that you need to watch your repair cost and your income versus spending balance in PvP. People in the long run tend to avoid the risk. I think it's just an outdated idea that PvP deaths should result in repair costs, and I really think they should do away with that. The long walk back to the PvP is really difficult and bad enough, especially when you try to walk back all over the map on your own, or with one or two people back to the battle area, and you encounter halfway on the way a Zerg of the enemy, and you die again and again. So that's all a hassle enough. They really don't need repair costs for PvP death. It's also a matter, if you take that topic to a broader area, that I felt the game was a little bit stingy. I mean, I don't want to be super rich when I'm level 10, but I felt that I could buy nothing. I didn't go to any auction house. I don't know, do they even exist? I didn't really care, because there was absolutely no money I could spend. A friend of mine was doing some crafting, and just after a short time of crafting, he was so spent that he literally couldn't afford the teleport back fee. Now we all know in many games, at least at the early on, crafting is more an investment, which I think is also a bad idea. But the game was really on the stingy side. The rewards were really too meager. I think they should at least double them or something. The general problem of PvP was of course also the balance issue. I think we have to see how that develops, because it can be that one server dominates them all. There is always the issue with open PvP that so far no MMO I know of has found a solution for that, to, I don't know, spawn NPCs to make a sort of balance or something. That is a little bit wishful thinking, because I know it's difficult to manage, but it would be something I really would have liked to see. Finally, there were no fixed rates in the PvP, which I think is a little bit of a letdown or complication. You see, if I take Rift as a counter example, if you played Rift and there was some invasion going on and you were going there, you were automatically groups until an automatic formed raid existed. And the bonus of that was, if you died or if you didn't know where the group went, you could look on the map and you could see your entire raid. Okay, there's the battle, there I have to go. In the not fixed groups in PvP in Guild Wars 2, if you died, you had no clue where everyone was. And that is, I mean, you can ask, but you know, on these maps, it doesn't work. Period. It just doesn't work. And I really wish Guild Wars 2 would add some fixed raids and not something that you have to create. I'm the raid leader who wants an invite. That's just too complicated. All this you have to ask. That's counterintuitive, and it's just yesterday's news. In a modern MMO, I expect an optional button that you get auto added to the ongoing raid as option. I really wish and hope that this system that I knew from Rift is added to the Guild Wars 2 PvP area, so you know where your group is, where they went. One big issue that was more my personal issue, or rather the issue of my computer, is that in big groups it was unbelievable lag. Now, I don't have such a new and expensive computer anymore, and you see, I can play the normal PvE area even with, I don't know, 20 people around in medium to high settings. But in PvP, even at lowest possible settings, it was horrible lag. It was really, really awful and nearly unplayable in big combat, and I'm sure that 2/3 of the deaths I had were just because it was so difficult to get away from a Zerg that was coming and in a big battle. At this moment I must say that PvP is almost unplayable to me because of this tremendous lag. I mean, as I said, I had shut down everything to the lowest settings and it was still lagging horribly, and despite the fact that in the normal PvE area I can play with medium to high settings. I really hope that ArenaNet finds a way to improve that. So, going to an overall impression, it was a very positive. I had, with some exceptions, a great fun time, and as I said, it's a definite buy. It is one of the best MMOs probably that has been released for years, but it does have some issues, and one of them is that, in my very personal opinion, the number one issue is that the classes are too weak. I'm sorry, that's my firm opinion. That I know we are used today, like we have so many MMOs where now there is no more action combat. You have Terra, you have DC Universe, you have, I don't know, Secret World even. You have this action-based combat, and it's not my favorite kind of combat. I can live with it, but I don't know, I get exhausted from such combat after a time. Maybe I'm too old, maybe it's just not my thing, I don't know, but I'm getting exhausted from playing such things a long time, so I wish the classes were stronger. I really felt they didn't quite had a grip of the class ideas. They felt, I don't know, a little bit half-baked, a little bit not, oh, this is the class, it is really great. Every class had still some issues. and it was very demanding, which isn't generally a bad thing, but personally I prefer a wee bit more relaxing time. For me, playing a game is not like sports or work or something. It's for me. I want to relax a bit more. And in Guild Wars 2, with playing the classes, I had the feeling that I was constantly playing, like standing on my toes. It's manageable, but it really is something where I wish it was a little bit easier, and I wish it would the classes were a little bit stronger and not so squishy, and not maybe doing a little bit more damage and having a little bit more um, armor class or something. I don't know. That's something where I wish that Guild Wars 2 would give a bit more a heroic feeling with your class. So that was my impression from the Guild Wars 2 beta. Give me some opinions. As ever, that is just my point of view, so don't be offended if you disagree, and, well, I see you in Tyria anytime soon. Bye bye.